I had a young girl recently came with her dad from Montreal, and she brought me a drawing of one of my characters, and she drew it in a scene, and I was like, I never thought of drawing him this way, and she goes, you can draw him that way if you'd like.
I have been very fortunate to go to a handful of cons, but the ones that I see just keep growing, and then it's almost unattainable to have that fan interaction.
Sure, yeah, yeah.
Um, it must be an extremely rewarding feeling to have someone that comes up to you as my age of a father bringing their children that essentially shared this intellectual property that means so much to them. Um, just because the dad's a fan and the kid's a fan, how do you get to that kid?
Usually the dads already have done that. I goof around a lot, so
Yeah.
I think I put kids at ease if I'm not uptight. I usually make them the focus of attention a lot of times at the table, try to
Yeah.
get them laughing or paying attention to me a little bit and calm them down so that they feel like they're part of the event as well. Because sometimes, like, dads are a big fan, and sometimes they will take up all the time asking questions,
Sure.
and their son or daughter might be there waiting to ask something. We usually try to. I love kids and dogs, so you put a kid on the other side of the table. I'm going to pay attention to the kid more than I will the parent. That's
That's
kind of
got to be incredible to see the dynamic and to know that going in there because again that you are that person's just favorite artist. You help create this world for this people and because like that I don't really want to go. But the amazing part about that is if that child catches up 5 years later, there's a beautiful memory.
and it's funny, I have had that happen. I've had kids that return multiple times over the years at different shows. We do a few shows in New England where we're from almost yearly, and so I get to see the kids grow up a little bit, and some of them will bring their art to show me their art, which is always very cool. I had a young girl recently came with her dad from Montreal, and she brought me a drawing of one of my characters, and she drew it in a scene, and I was like, I never thought of drawing him this way. And she goes, you can draw him that way if you'd like. And it's humbling, of course, on my side, because it's a kid that took the time to do this illustration to bring to me to show me, and it's wonderful. It's such a nice feeling to know that somebody appreciates it that much.
Is it at all challenging to keep the integrity for the story once the Nickelodeon days come along?
So a lot of the Nickelodeon folks were turtle nerds growing up. So I know like Ciro Nelli, who did the 2012 series, which is one of my favorite versions of the Turtles, gigantic turtle nerd, growing up. So they loved the property so much, they respect it, and they really, really kind of, I think in a lot of ways tweaked it ways Kevin and Pete couldn't because they had established their world early on in the black and white book. So it was kind of hard to change that. So it was kind of neat to see what Nickelodeon did with April being a teenager as opposed to being an adult.
Yes.
It did change some of the dynamics because I always feel like the dynamic with Splinter and April and the boys is a family unit. And so that changed a little bit, but I thought the interaction between teenagers, the boys
Yeah.
and April and Casey being a teenager at the same time, was really a lot more interesting because they were teenagers.
I watched Mutant Mayhem by myself, and I'm grown to the point where it wasn't for me. I watched it and I was like, I wanted this and I wanted that, and I was like, you know what? It serves a purpose. It's not for me. But then I watched it with my son, and he laughed. He's 7 years old. He laughed 30 seconds into it.
Oh, and again, I kind of the opposite school. Out of all the turtle movies that have come out, very first one will always be our favorite. But Mutant Mayhem is my second favorite turtle movie. I thought it was interesting, well written. The opening sequence, the just felt like I was watching an adult live action movie.
Yes.
Um, and then the animation was just so beautiful. I thought they did such a great job in reassessing the characters so that the mutants weren't all mutated by the Shredder like in the old cartoon. It was kind of cool to have them established and coexisting with the turtles, but not connecting until they connected in the movie, which I thought was really smart and interesting way of doing it.
I had a bias, and my bias should have been thrown out the window because I saw that through that lens after I watched it, and the way that it was relatable, and what's even more exciting is I don't think Seth Rogen has children,
No, he doesn't.
and he wrote that book for children from the eyes of a child, and it was just so exciting.
Well, he
to
was a
see.
turtle nerd. So I remember seeing some of the interviews when he was talking about the movie, and he was talking about the action figures.
Yeah.
You know, he was talking about, like, why would Mondo Gecko have a skate on his tail? And it was like, because he's doing tricks. That's why he has a skate on his tail. But I mean, it was interesting to hear him assess a lot of the characters and you know, hear how you know, his assessment of them and what he thought they would do. But I thought they did such a good job, like even redesigning the characters. The
Absolutely.
animation style was
Yes.
beautiful. At times it looked like claymation. It was a beautiful
Yes.
film. It was a beautiful
Yes.
film. And I will tell you, hearing Jackie Chan as Splinter made my heart soar. You know, he was literally. I mean, I've heard many versions of Splinter, but you know, Jackie Chan just sounded like a dad. He sounded like he was the Turtles' dad, the way he talked.
I've
to
never
him.
heard that version of him, and it was very comforting. And
Yep.
then you hear it, and it's something. It's like it should have been there. It always should have been.
Yeah, it did make him feel more like a dad. You know, like you know,
Yes.
the way he reacted to the boys and told them certain things to keep them from harm. You know, and
Absolutely.
then as teenagers they do dumb things and they
The
find
milking
out.
the people, though, was
Oh,
purple.
yeah,
Perfect.
they're
The
gonna
milking
milk
the
you. They're
people
gonna milk you.
And it was,
Yeah.
oh my god, like,
The
and my
humans, they'll milk
son's
you.
telling me they're gonna milk, and I like thought it was inappropriate because they didn't know what it meant.
Yep.
And then they actually were trying to
Milk them, and they're
Oh.
like, and then they were shocked when they were getting milked. Look how they're milking us. It was insane, but it was again very smart and neat that they didn't bring the shredder in until like the very last couple. You know,
Yes.
like you ominous image of the shredder and lightning. You know, at the very end, and I was like, oh, they don't have to bring in the villain right away, and I thought that was a good way of telling that story.
The pacing. Question: what does it feel like being the world's oldest teenager?
It's painful. Yeah. So being Mikey, you mean?
Well, I don't want to assume anything, but I was told, you know, that it was based on your likeness, but also you get to live in this world and make believe for your whole life. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm asking about being the world's oldest teenager. You get to live that life.
So yeah, it's very funny. I mean, my wife Denise always kind of mentions too that she feels like the turtles are our family. You know, that they're not, you know, even though
That's
they're not
incredible.
real. It just feels like, you know, they're part of our family. So
Yes.
yeah, to us they're our, you know, they're our brothers, our boys, you know, that type of thing. And so it's nice. It's nice to have that attachment to something that makes so much joy for everybody. In my mind, you know, I've tens of thousands of turtle fans I've met. This many I probably wouldn't want to talk to because they were just obnoxious people. Like they just didn't understand.
yeah.
They were answering questions people would ask me at the table. I'm like, you know, they were standing at the table. Someone would ask me a question,
They stole
and they were
someone's
answering.
experience.
Yeah, and they stole an experience, and that's why.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
No. That's exactly what it was. They were stealing, you know, that person's moment to talk to me, and that's no. I mean, I feel bad for that person. Luckily, my wife was able to go. Excuse me, we're gonna have to move along and ask that, you know, particular person. One person put a chair at the end of the table and sat in front of the table one time and started doing a similar thing. And again, my wife, because I tried to be the good guy, she plays the bad guy. And she just said, "You look, we can't have a chair here because people are moving up and down the table, and you're blocking people from looking at art." And the guy didn't understand. He was kind of upset about it. And those. Like I said, 2 out of 10, tens of thousands of people, that's a pretty good odd. You know, like I said, we have wonderful fans. And I mean, without them, we're nothing. And I always tell them that. You know, they're like, "Oh, thank you for my childhood." I'm like, well, truthfully, we were in our 20s and we were enjoying the Turtles as much as you were. And I guess that shows in what came out. You know, like they always say, well, it comes across. And it's like, well, we were having a good time. Kevin and Pete owned the property. We didn't have to deal with you know, a whole bunch of people reviewing our stuff. It was like, hey, I'm doing this for the video game box cover, and they would go, that looks great, and that's what got on the video game box cover. So it was a very easy world for the longest time until attorneys showed up and things changed. But for the most part, it was a wonderful time, and Kevin and Pete treated us just like they were getting treated, which was nice. At 40 years in, I still feel like I have the same level of energy and excitement when I get pulled into a project now as I did back then, and it's kind of nice. Like a lot of the 40 and 30-year-old artists that grew up on the Turtles now, when I meet them, of course they're freaked out because they're gigantic turtle nerds, but then they'll ask me to work on something with them, and my response is always yes, and like, really? And it's nice because a lot of times they'll ask me to paint something, and I'm like, do you want me to do it digitally? And they're like, no, I want it in the real world.
Hold it tangibly. Yes.
Yep. So it's so fun for me. Again, it's nice, and again, I'm in awe. We all are, because most of us. Kevin has a little bit of art degree. Pete has an art degree from UMass. Most of the other guys have art degrees. I went from high school to doing this. So for me, I got paid to get an art degree and work on something. And again, I went to high school with Kevin, so my parents weren't real happy that I was quitting a good job to go off with Kevin to do this. But I literally said to them, look, if I go 6 months and that's it, I had a shot. But I can't see doing this any other way. And 40 years later, the shot worked pretty good, and again, just a wonderful life.
Thank you so much for being so generous with your time.
Oh, happy to.
Where can we follow up with all of your information?
You can always hit me. We have Shellback Artworks on Facebook. I take commissions there. We sell a lot of stuff. There's a lot of turtle stuff in our basement.
Family portraits?
Yeah, I have done them. Trust me. Trust me, I have. Don't. So yeah, we get you can reach through there, and I also on Instagram. I always tell people I'm a horrible Instagrammer, but you will only get art.
Yeah.
So I put up art that I'm working on or just finishing up. And that's where I kind of share that. But I always tell people, if you want to reach us, go through the Facebook page, because my wife runs that, and she's a good communicator. I'm good at ignoring a lot of times, not intentionally. I'll see something and I'll go.
Imagine you have to focus, though, on the big picture stuff.
Sure, yeah. I call it a little lazy on my end, too, because I'll see something and I'll go, I'll take care. I'll reach out to them tomorrow, and then tomorrow turns into next week, and then she'll remind me there's somebody that wanted to, message me, and I'll get back to them, so. But yeah, you can always hit me up on there, and hopefully find me out and around at cons.
That's awesome. I can't wait to share this interview. It's just, you're more kind and more personable. I would hope that someone that had a life dedicated to art that fulfilled them would be fulfilled, and that's how it sounds.
Oh yeah. We're more than fortunate.
Thank
more
you
than
so
fortunate.
much. That's wonderful.
Yeah.